Story 1. I found out my wife has been cheating. Confronting her about it has opened up other horrible truths. Sorry if this is the wrong place to post. Online advice is new territory for me. Long post, with many layers. I've been with my wife for 16 years. Married for almost 14. We have 2 daughters. One is mine biologically. The other is mine in every other way. I love them all with all of my being. A few weeks ago, I took my wife to get her eyebrows microbladed, during which I hoped to enjoy a night of dining and fun in the city, just to enjoy each other's company on a rarely enjoyed date night. While she was enduring the procedure, she left her phone with me. After a bit, a notification popped up. It was my daughter. Even though I'm completely unaware on how to use Snapchat, I thought it would be fun to surprise her with a response from Dad instead of Mom. It took a few minutes, but I was able to fire off a goofy picture back to her. After sending, I somehow stumbled in her chat section. At first glance it was nothing, but then I noticed a name I've always hated. We'll call him Dick. I hesitated at first, never wanting to be that type of guy who snoops through her phone, but curiosity got the best of me. I was floored by what I saw. Detailed conversations about a tryst they had recently, the details of which I will mostly keep silent. But let's just state that it was about oral sex. I couldn't help but to continue reading. It was difficult for several reasons. The obvious betrayal set aside, as I've learned about Snapchat, portions will delete automatically, so the dates jumped wildly and details were sparse from the past. What I did learn was that it had happened a few times over the past few months, including on my birthday as I slept upstairs. I know at my age birthdays aren't as exciting or important. That's aging for you. But it stung a little extra for sure. In between the flirting and details were pictures, and probably the most hurtful was how she talked about me. Certainly not much positive, and at best only half true, and at worst just blatant lies or misleading statements. She got to a moment for a break in her procedure, so I put the phone down. Visibly shaken, she asked what was wrong. Not wanting to cause a scene in public, or involve the poor girl doing the procedure in our mess, I just told her I wasn't feeling well and wanted to get some fresh air. I spent the rest of the procedure, about 2 hours, walking downtown trying to figure out what steps to take next. After the procedure, I told her we'd have to put a hold on the other plans, to both of our dismay. Intending to discuss things when we got back home, once we reached our car, I couldn't hold back. I told her everything I saw. I told her not to touch her phone because I wanted to talk to her about it point by point, and didn't want her removing or deleting anything anywhere from her phone. We cried and screamed all the way home. Once home, we set the kids up, and we went to our room where I dove in head first. I had her unlock her phone and give it to me, which she eventually did, very reluctantly. That's where it got even harder. She admitted to the infidelity with Dick in the basement on multiple occasions. But as I dove deeper in the phone, I found out a couple of other issues. It turns out that while we were dating, before we were married, she had been with a friend in college that I always feared, but she had always denied. She insists, the same with Dick, that they did not have intercourse. Only oral, making out, etc. A contentious subject as we seemed to disagree on the definition of sex. Hearing this, my mind ran away, and I began to ask about any and every situation where I feel she might have been able to cheat. Nothing too serious, except one. One night years ago after work, she didn't come home until almost 2 a.m. I remember asking where she had been. She told me she was out. Nothing more. Despite my worries, in my new relationship naivety, I let it go for the time being. But it always lingered in the back of my mind, and burst out that night. As I asked, in between anger and hurt, she suddenly tightened up. She started crying, and I assumed that this was the one that would end our relationship. Instead, without going into detail in fairness to her, it was the story of her sexual assault that she had never told anyone. She cried. I cried. We held each other forever. I felt like the world's biggest asshole, while simultaneously hurt and betrayed from the other stories of her actual infidelity outside of the assault. I assured her that the assault wasn't her fault, and that despite my feelings now that I would certainly never hold that against her. What piece of shit would? We stopped the fighting at that point as we were both worn out. Over the next few days, we tried to be cordial and mend fences where possible. The problem was that, as is abundantly clear above, I'm not social media savvy. I don't use them terribly often, if ever. Well, she is, and has quite a large following across several platforms. She has been using those platforms to create sympathy for herself. Not giving details, but using cryptic messages about how sad she is, how everything is ruined, how bad her depression currently is. Now our friends are sympathetic towards her without knowing any details, while I appear to be the unsympathetic husband who makes her miserable. I've seen comments about how I may be the problem. Now I know I'm not free from any blame here. I work a lot, strange hours sometimes. I've had to move my disabled mother and brother in with our family to take care of them, which she has been truly helpful with. I'm also currently dealing with health issues of my own. And I can admit that because of these things, I've not been the most attentive husband for her emotionally or sexually. I have tried, but it's difficult sometimes as life gets in the way. But the fact is that I wanted to. I'm just not sure she does. And I don't feel that it justifies her infidelity. I'm at a loss here. It seems that every direction I look is the wrong one. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my girls. I don't want to walk away from her when she needs me, as her sexual assault revelation has taken a toll on her that no woman deserves. But I also don't want to sit back and be a sucker, to get belittled and betrayed, just to brush my shoulders off and say it's no big deal. I'm lost, and have nobody else to turn to here. So I took the terrifying step that I'm completely uneducated on, and came here. Do I file for divorce, seeing as how this seems to be a troubling trend? Do I stay with my wife, despite the betrayal, and try to learn to be a better husband for her in her time of need? Should I tell my friends and family to save face and reveal the truth, or would that be considered as shaming her? Please help. I don't know what to do. TLDR, found out my wife cheated recently, and also long ago. Then found out she was sexually assaulted at a different time. Now I feel like I'm taking the blame for our relationship woes with our friends on social media. Edit 1, I've seen it pop up a few times. I was sort of expecting it. But her assault story is true. I'm not one to share much publicly, but I am as sure as anyone can be that wasn't an eyeball witness. It happened. That explanation will have to suffice, and I will be ignoring comments suggesting otherwise. I admit that I'm the one who asked for advice, but her assault happened. That part is settled. Edit 2, I took pictures of the conversations they had, and that we've had. I'm compiling the evidence just in case, and to keep her honest. Edit 3, this one is on me. When stating that it was oral sex, I meant she was on the receiving end. She claims that in making out was it. The conversations I've saved also seem to support that. However, I'm not necessarily convinced that was all, but I have no proof otherwise. Edit 4, alright, I'm going to take a break until tomorrow. This is all a little overwhelming. I appreciate all of the comments and advice, even the ones condemning me to a life of cuckoldry. I knew everyone would have different and strong opinions. That's what I wanted to hear. I know my marriage is likely over. It's just hard to so casually throw away something you've spent half of your life building. I'll post an update if anything happens. Story 2. Found out wife was cheating, now divorce and little revenge. Advice. I 28 is married to 27, together for 5 years, married for about 3 years, no children, both working and good at firms, no property together, currently renting an apartment, no loans, savings are separated, earning are about equal. I had seen this subreddit about 1 year ago, so I am posting here for what to do. I found out she is cheating on me about 10 days ago, as I heard her talking to someone. That call ended as soon as I walked in, so I at about 3 a.m. checked her phone and found call logs deleted of that time evening, so I did some digging and found she uses Telegram, which I never knew because we use WhatsApp for chatting and everything. I have been busy at work for about 3 months as I am competing for a promotion with other 2 individuals, so I was not able to give much time at home. Affair is with a work colleague for about 9 weeks when I found out they were sexting each other and sending nudes in different positions. I could tell it was just for sex and fun, enjoying each other, as she has mentioned this many times, as she does not want him to think they are anything more. They had been physical 4 times. I had taken screenshots of everything, did not have guts to confront her. I was very shaken, thought it would be over if I confronted her. For a few days I was numb, knew nothing what to do. She asked if everything was okay. I said problem at office. In office everyone was asking if I am okay. So I told them that my aunt was dead. I also took leave for 2 weeks, told the HR that my wife was cheating. Then 4 days ago she was going for a trip to meet him at a hotel, so I was very stressed and heartbroken. I threw up in the morning, had a very high fever, so I asked her to stay, but she said that she would if she could, but the work trip is important. Then and there I knew I am divorcing. Asked my brother to follow her and take photos of her yesterday, and it came out perfect as she is kissing him in one of them. I was crushed. I cried a lot, wanted to drink, but my brother held me back. I wanted revenge, so I am going to tell her that I am having an affair with another woman and then leave her. She will portray herself as victim and tell her friends and her parents, who are very conservative, so I am sure they will be very, very angry. Me, then I will tell everyone that she is the making fake stories and show proof of her cheating. Nobody will believe her again, even her parents. Asked my father's friend who is lawyer. He says divorce will be easy with evidence and nothing to divide, as jewelry is the only thing we have to discuss, as my mother gave my wife some of hers. I am going to leave today to live. My friend who has an extra room, he is living alone, now waiting for her to come home with my ring off of my finger. Wish me best luck and tell me how to heal from this. Also, this is a throwaway account. Update, I know she is very remorseful. She had done anything I could ask for, but still, should I forgive her? I had written this post 8 days ago but only posted it yesterday, so here is an update. When I told her about my affair, she was shocked. I tried to leave fast as I could, had my clothes and car already. She just would not let me go and started asking questions such as, who is she? Do I really love her? Not my wife. Then started mumbling, and then I just shouted, let go. I had not shouted in 5 years of relationship with her. Then I ran away to my car and left. After that I got at least 10 calls from her, then I blocked her, then texts started coming in hundreds. I texted her not text or I will block her and told her to discuss future in a few days. She stopped texting after a few more and then came to agreement to meet. I met her after 3 days. She was very weak as she had not eaten and her eyes were swollen. She started by saying that she knows that I have no affair because of the kind of person I am and I never had enough time for an affair. I am leaving because of her affair and how sorry she is and how she wants forgiveness. After 30 minutes I told her the truth. Then she told me that meeting was not fake, just that meeting was only of 3 days. The extra day was for her to fool around. That is why she could not stay to take care of me. I asked for her phone. She gave and surprisingly there was nothing deleted, and she has told her affair partner to never contact, then blocked. She told me he was nothing to her and she only loves me. She also told her HR about it and she plans to quit and told affair partner's wife with proof today evening. I said I don't believe her and wants to divorce. She just started crying and asking for another chance. This took about 2 hours. Then at our home a woman came. My wife told me that she is AP's wife and then started asking for forgiveness from her, then gave proof of them hanging out kissing each other and texts. That woman started to cry and curse my wife, then told her that she hopes that our marriage breaks. She left with that. I also gave her my number for additional proof. I asked her what she thought would be the outcome as we were supposed to buy a home this year and start a family and the next. Then I left without her answer. She could not answer my question. I could tell that my wife was very sorry and I am sure she will not repeat it again, but why should I give her another chance, as one chance should be enough, as I had spent whole of my 5 years dedicated to loving her and to make our living better. Then next day I got a call from her father telling me how sorry he is and it is up to me to divorce or not, but he told me that her daughter is sincere in forgiveness, asked me to consider to give her another chance. Then nothing happened till today. I started going to office and my wife has not resigned, but her AP has. It seems that HR has fired him, not her, put on hold as she is important for team currently. I got this info from HR through Facebook. She keeps texting me and also visited my brother, thought I was living with him. She left as soon as she knew I was not there. Nothing happened till now. I know she is very remorseful. She had done anything I could ask for, but still, should I forgive her? And to be honest, I still love her very much, but I don't want a toxic or loveless marriage. Also, I want to be able to trust my partner with anything and everything. Story 3. So, my 26 female wife, let's call her M, cheated on me. 27 male with a friend of mine. Let's call him J for the story's sake. A bit of backstory. We met when I was 22 at another friend's wedding. She was a good friend of the bride and I the groom, and they sat us at that table so we could get together. When I first saw her, I was completely taken back by how beautiful she was, and when she sat down and we began to talk, we found out we had a lot of things in common. We clicked instantly. We talked for a while, ate dinner and took to the dance floor. We danced and drank through the night. We ended up kissing in the middle of the dance floor, and when we pulled away our friends came up to us and asked what was up between us. We just shrugged it off and carried on with our night. We left without exchanging numbers, but about a week later I got a text from her asking me out. I of course said yes, and it turned into a relationship. The relationship was great. Other than small arguments, we never really fought, and it was never anything really serious. I eventually asked her to marry me about 2 years into dating, and we were married less than a year later. We were married for a little more than a year when it all came crashing down on me. Just before our first anniversary, there were little things that were irritating me. She became more guarded of her phone, girls' nights became more frequent, and our sex life was almost non-existent. I had brought this up on multiple occasions but was brushed off, and that I'm letting my insecurities get to me. She would continue to go on as if what I felt and tried to communicate didn't matter to her, so I became colder and colder. I stopped giving her a goodbye kiss as I left for work, and unless it was something important, we hardly spoke. One night while she slept, I took her phone and laptop and skimmed through her texts, emails and messenger apps and found nothing. And from reading stories on here, I checked her car. I grabbed her keys and looked in her car and found a second phone. I knew in that instant what was going on, but I wanted all the evidence for when I called her out. I didn't want her to say something like it had only happened once or anything stupid like that. I looked through the phone and found only one number. I read though every message. I connected the phone to my computer and printed out every message and every photo and spent the night researching divorce lawyers. I spent hours of my day in my at-home office reading bios of lawyers and found one that I liked and emailed him, but as it was a setup, he wasn't in the office. I then wanted to know who the guy was. So I grabbed my phone, typed the number I wanted to call and pretend I'm Spectrum, because who doesn't have Spectrum, but Jay's contact popped up. It took me a minute to put 2 and 2 together, but when I did, I blew up. I was yelling and cursing in my office, and my wife opened the door to check on me, but when I saw her, I told her to get the F out. She closed the door and went to our room. I had never cursed at my wife or raised my voice above a normal volume. All day I never left my office. I was just silently raging, just glaring at the wall. I called one of my friends and told him I needed to go for a drink and asked if he'll come with me. He must have heard something in my voice because he asked if I was okay. I told him I wasn't and I really need to drink. So, without a word, I took all the printouts and left to go to the bar. I arrived first, ordered 4 shots of Jack and a beer. I was on my last shot when my friend arrived and asked what's going on. I told him straight out M's cheating. He gave me sympathy and I asked if he wanted to know with who and told him it was Jay. He became visibly irritated. He was the one that introduced me to Jay and all he could say was I'm sorry over and over. Jay and I were never super close. We wouldn't ask one another to hang out, but if we saw each other at a get-together we were friendly. I told T don't mention this to anyone as I had just found out and I haven't even spoken to M or a lawyer yet. I asked him not to tell his wife and if she asked what was wrong with me to say I'm having problems at work. He agreed. We drank and talked for most of the night, then I called an Uber and went home around 3 a.m. It was the first time I looked at my phone since I called T and there were missed calls, a bunch of texts all from M asking me where I was when I'd be home and if I was okay. I got home and she was asleep on the couch. I just walked up to our bedroom and went to sleep. I woke up with her in the bed, so I got dressed and left the house. I went to go pick up my car and go to my office and buried myself in work for the day and went back home around 10 p.m. To my surprise, my wife was there to greet me and she told me she had made me dinner. She asked if I wanted her to heat it up. I told her no and went to bed. She followed soon after asking what's been wrong with me. I told her to leave me alone and that I wanted to sleep. She kept pestering me. Eventually I snapped and yelled, "Stop, I am trying to sleep, go away." The next morning, I received an email from the lawyer asking to meet later in the day and I confirmed and got ready for my day. I went downstairs to leave and Em had made breakfast, asking to talk. I made a small plate and sat down. She started by saying I've been acting differently and going on and on about how I changed, and she wants to know why. I told her work has been stressful and soon it would be all over. I finished up and told her I've got to go. I went to my office and counted down the minutes to go meet the lawyer. When I left, I told my assistant I'm going out to lunch with a client and left. The meeting with the lawyer went well and I handed over all I had gathered on her, and the lawyer had told me, "Well, I'm sorry for all that's going on, but I'm happy you gathered all this information. You see, we live in an at-fault state, so your wife has no claim on most of your money." I told him I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking I've got to divorce her as soon as possible. He asked to keep the evidence, but I told him I'd prefer you to just make copies as I haven't told my wife I knew yet and I don't want to hear her excuses. He agreed and had his assistant make copies. I asked when she will be served with papers. He told me about 2 weeks. I then thanked him and left. I went home to confront my wife. When I arrived, she wasn't home. So I called her, no answer. Called again, no answer. I texted her, "I don't give a F if you're writing Jay right now, get home, we need to talk." Lo and behold, she calls me not a minute later asking what I was talking about. All I told her was get home now. She arrived about 15 minutes later and I said to her, "Wow, look at that, 15 minutes, that's about the same distance between here and Jay's, isn't it?" She looked at me dumbfounded. I gave her a minute to gather herself, but she was just looking at me and I said, "Well, nothing to say." She tried to deny and gaslight me and I let her continue on. She worked herself up and started to insult me. I slammed my fist on the table to shut her up and pulled out the evidence at first and showed it from the side and said, "Look at this mountain of things I gathered on you." Then I showed her each printout at a time. She then tells me to stop and started to cry. She tried to apologize and tells me she loved me. I said, "Honey, what happened to that energy you had before? You were so adamant on degrading and insulting me just a minute ago." She tried to hug me and tell me how sorry she is. I put my hand out and told her, "Don't touch me." She says, "Well, go to the bedroom and do whatever I like." I looked her deep in her eyes and told her, "Sweetheart, I will never touch you again. Do you want to know who else has these photos and messages? My lawyer. I'm divorcing you now. Get a bag, gather your clothes, and get the F out of my house." That was 3 days ago, and I haven't heard from her. I'm sorry about how long this is and if there are any spelling errors. I'm curious about where I'm at and what I can expect from here. Thank you for reading.